What's up, you guys? If you guys have been watching my Snapchat, I've been telling you guys that I have the opportunity for me and other YouTubers, actors, there's so many people here to be able to interview and ask Hillary Clinton some questions. So I just pulled up. It's the put on by BeautyCon. Over here is the pink carpet, and I just did a live interview on Facebook Live or whatever. So now I'm with everybody checking in. And then obviously Shannon's with me, wherever she is. She's my date that ran off.
Wow, man.
There she is. I told you guys.
Why is this lady's voice so annoying?
Yo, they are protesting like crazy over here. They hate Hillary. Yeah, we got so much shit from doing a video because she talked about wanting to kiss Hillary Clinton, and I vouched for it.
So much shit.
And she's Canadian.
Subscribed for me. People told me that I was the biggest idiot. People call me anti-feminist. I think as a woman, what she stands for, she's accomplished.
Right, true.
Whether or not you agree with her policies or
Exactly.
not, you cannot deny that there's no other woman in history who has accomplished what she
has accomplished.
And if that's not
It's the
worth a
bomb.
makeout session, then brother, I don't want to make out with you.
Right. I have two questions I want to ask her. One that has to do with education reform and one that has to do with LGBT rights, because those are the two categories they gave me. So let's see what happens. Hey, Secret Service time. I found Missy. Hey, we're about to get checked by Secret Service. This shit is serious. Serious. Melvin Greg.
What up? What up?
What's up? Lights over here. Hey, we're turning up. Carucci's right here. Missy Lynn.
Ain't nothing but against the party.
Thank you, and to Moj for that great introduction, setting the stage. I'm thrilled to be here with so many creators, and I hope we can have a real conversation on any issue that may be on your minds. I'm really anxious to hear from you, and I am excited about this afternoon, so thanks a lot.
All right.
The court didn't actually strike down the executive actions that President Obama took on these two programs that were really aimed at providing more security for the parents of kids who were American citizens, either by birth or naturalization. Instead, they sent it back for a trial in a lower court. And we don't know, therefore, what the outcome will be. We do know that dreamers were not included, and you were right, Dulce, to say parents, family members, because dreamers, and if you know any who are still eligible, should go ahead and sign up to have the protection that comes under the authority that the president granted. But as you rightly point out, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s who are still paying their student debt. It's a terrible burden. So yes, I have a commitment to helping people with debt refinance that debt, get it to a lower interest rate. Do you know what your interest rate is on your debt?
8.25.
8.25.
Okay. Well, I think it's important that, I mean, I've met people with interest rates from 7 to 14, and 8.25% is a lot higher than what mortgages are going for, and what car payments are going for, and what the interest rates are in our economy right now. So I have a couple of things. One, we're going to refinance. Two, I want to move as many people as possible into repayment plans so you pay back as a percentage of your income, not a fixed amount based on an interest rate. Today in Denver, I announced that for entrepreneurs, people who are trying to start a business, I want to put a moratorium on any debt repayment for 3 years so that you can try to get started and get your business underway. And if you, at the end of those 3 years, can prove that you're really getting something going and you're employing people, we will move toward forgiving a lot of that debt. I'm interested in young people being able to get into business and take all of your good ideas and become entrepreneurs and innovators. I also want people who are doing national service or public service jobs to have a lot of their debt forgiven. There are a lot of places in this country where we're short on doctors, we're short on nurses, we're short on teachers, we're short on police and firefighters. We need to do more to make it possible for young people to do those kinds of professions. I'm also intent upon putting a date certain for the end of your payments. If you have made your payments, then at the end of 15, 20 years, you should be done. And I think That's so important, because otherwise it does interfere with buying a home, starting a business, being able to be freed. And I think it boils down to something I really disapprove of, and that is the federal government making money off of lending money to young people to get your education. Right. So I have a big set of ideas that I'm going to be pushing hard as soon as I become president. I am determined to say, look, you may not vote for me, Trump supporters. I get that, because you really are upset about immigration, or you're upset about trade, or you're upset about, the feeling that the jobs that you had that gave you a good living are gone. But let's think about what we're going to do to try to create more opportunities for you, your children, your grandchildren. So I'm very sympathetic to that. I am not sympathetic to the xenophobia, the misogyny, the homophobia, the Islamophobia, and all of the other so when it comes to economics, we do have to do a better job to create more opportunity and to get incomes rising. Most Americans have not had a raise in 15 years. A lot of Americans haven't recovered from the effects of the Great Recession. Right. So that's real, and I accept that as a real challenge to what we're going to have to do to produce more jobs with rising incomes. That is contrary to our values and to how we can get things done as a country. We need to be unified, not divided. We can have differences, I'm sure we do, all of us, but we can't allow those differences to draw big wedges between us so that we are paralyzed and locked in gridlock, as has been going on far too long in Washington. We've got to roll our sleeves up and get to work, and that's what I'm trying to present. People lose their home, they get evicted. I know more about New York than a lot of other places. We have a lot of homeless parents and children, particularly a lot of mothers and children, who, because of domestic violence or because of financial setbacks, literally don't have anywhere to live. And they end up in shelters if they're not on the street. And the shelters are often dangerous places for them. We also have a lot of untreated, even undiagnosed, but certainly a lot of homeless people are on the streets because of mental health challenges, and we don't have enough mental health facilities or treatment to really take them in. And addiction is a big problem for many people who end up homeless. So there are different reasons why somebody is on the streets, but those are three big categories: financial, mental health, addiction. And we have to address all of them. So here are some good things that are happening in different parts of the country. And I want to have a big emphasis on homelessness. And one of the areas is trying to provide supported housing, so there is some place to take somebody besides a shelter, so that there can be a safe place, preferably an apartment, which is hard in big cities because the costs are so great. But we need more subsidized, affordable housing for working people, poor people, and homeless people. And that will be a big emphasis of mine. Yes. We also need to recognize that mental health is not separate from every other kind of health. It is a health problem, and it deserves to be treated as such. So you will find that the biggest facilities for caring for the mentally ill in our country are jails and prisons. So instead of providing treatment, we pick somebody up off the street, charge them with something, put them in jail, put them in prison, and they don't get the treatment that they need. So we've got to take a hard look at our whole mental health institutions, every one of them, from local to federal, that we can try to provide. And then the same with addiction. We need to keep pushing forward on legislation that will put into our laws protections for LGBT people. I mean, you can get married on Saturday, you can post your pictures on Sunday, and you can be fired on Monday, because there is no employment protection. So as president, I will work to pass the Equality Act. I will work to set a good example of how we are an inclusive country, an inclusive government that looks like America, that includes everybody. And I will continue the work I started as Secretary of State to speak out against discrimination, against the LGBT community across the globe. Not just what I was saying personally, but American policy to stand up for the rights of the LGBT community. And we will keep beating that drum. I started programs to provide funding for activists. You know, there are a lot of people who are scared all the time in other countries, and I don't want people to be scared in our country. I don't want what happened at Pulse to infect people with that level of fear. It was a horrible, terrible, I can't even think of all the adjectives that describe the shock and distress that we all felt. But I don't want people to live in fear. I'm working as hard as I can to keep guns out of the wrong hands, something that I think contributed to the murders in Orlando. And the idea that we can't do more to protect people from the epidemic of gun violence is just so heart-sickening to me that I'm going to stay on this, take on the gun lobby, keep fighting for gun safety. Perpetuation of systemic racism. I've spoken out about that. I have addressed it. I also was very honored to receive a huge percentage of the vote of African Americans in the primary. And I am grateful for that because so many people know of my history. I don't always talk about it, so I'm not surprised that younger people don't. But I went to work for the Children's Defense Fund right out of law school. I didn't go to work for a law firm. I went to work for Marion Wright Edelman, a pioneering African-American lawyer who was by the side of Dr. King in fighting for civil rights, and who created an organization called the Children's Defense Fund to continue that work. I went to South Carolina as a young law student to gather information to end the practice of housing juveniles in adult jails. I went undercover to Alabama to gather information to prevent the creation of tax-exempt status for segregated academies. That doesn't mean that because I have a history of working to try to overcome injustice and systemic challenges like racism, that I don't want to be held accountable by voters because I'm telling you what I want to do. The very first speech that I gave in this campaign a year ago, April, was about criminal justice reform, ending the era of mass incarceration, looking for more programs of diversion, creating more housing, education, and employment opportunities. So I am more than open to and receptive to dealing with the systemic problems that are at the root of injustice and disunity and inequality in our country. But I also do respectfully ask that people know a little bit more about what I have done and why the Congressional Black Caucus supported me and why other black leaders have supported me, because I've been there and I will continue to be there. And I hope that we'll make more progress when I am president.
Thanks so much. Very nice to meet you. Selfie.